So, Chris, guys, Madeline, thank you for having me on. It's exciting to be here with everyone. So, I'm going to walk you through our journey of the lab. Our flagship location is here in Orlando in the historic Paramore district. That's an important component of this. So, this version of the presentation has a business bent to it, but I would be doing it a great injustice and disservice if I did not talk about the importance of the community component. So, I'm going to take you guys on that journey. You'll see how the structure works here, but we honestly believe that, as Dave and Chris shared a moment ago, that having something different is mission critical. And by doing that, you create an opportunity for investors and others that's so wholly unique that they're compelled to make that move. And that's some of what we're seeing now. So let me go ahead and jump in. Let's talk about what the lab is actually designed to do. It's designed to accelerate scale-ready businesses and deliver investor ROI. But equally as important, we set out on this mission to align the interests of community, businesses, investors, and government to drive job growth and economic development. So that gets into the story. As I sit here with you today in the Paramore district, 2 blocks from me is Camping World Stadium, a couple of college bowl games happen there, stuff throughout the year. To the other side of me is Orlando City Soccer and their stadium, both in the Paramore district. Members of this community see very little benefit from that. And so when we got here, we actually signed the lease on this location March 1st, 2020. My business partner and I, Juliana, we actually spent 3 years running our local chapter of 1 Million Cups, which is like your local Shark Tank, happens every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. So we've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs to grow. Some have had exits and so on and so forth. So the call that we got was, hey, we need a place outside of Wednesday at 9 a.m. where we can get together and learn and do more, right? So we find this place. We signed the lease March 1st, 2020. Next week, the whole world shuts down, thanks to COVID, right? So here we are with a lease and all of these plans for an event space, and we can't do anything. So the blessing and the silver lining on that is we had time to study. And that's when we really started to understand, thanks to John Park, who's also on this call and does strategy for us, we really started to understand the power of opportunity zones. So we dug in, we started to study, and we said, well, what's missing, right? Because people are doing real estate, some people are talking about businesses, whatever. We said, you know what the missing link is? And I'll backtrack for just a second. Our primary business, Sherlock, is actually an AI company, and we specialize in competitive intelligence. So we deal with a ton of data every day, right? So we said, look, what's the real problem? And what we realized is that there isn't a set accountability chain to align the interests of community, business, investors, and the government. And as I get into the story, you guys will see how this kind of came back down the chain. But honestly, we said, that's the thing. When these types of projects happen, communities often do not benefit from the growth and upward mobility. And sitting in a place that is historically underserved, where over 40% of the population here sits under the poverty line, and people die early, we're like, wait a minute, the challenge is that all this opportunity comes, but people either aren't ready or don't understand what it means, so they can't participate. So as much of a business as the lab model is, the community component was critical for us. And in some of the workshops and programs that we do, residents of this community can always attend for free, because we want that upward mobility. So that's a bit of the backstory as to how we got here. Let me talk to you a little bit about our team. So that ugly mug there, me. So I've got a background in media and technology, almost 30 years. My business partner, Juliana, who is also my spouse, has founded multiple companies and had success. And our executive vice president, Alan Schaefer, worked for IBM for 30 years and brings a wealth of knowledge and experience as well. We were really fortunate with our expert advisors, and as part of the journey of us selling this idea in 2020, they kind of fell in our lap. We were connected with Brad Molotowski, who is based out of Philadelphia. He actually helped to draft the Opportunity Zone legislation and was kind enough to join us as an expert advisor to help us on this path. Lance Tiernan is an expert in banking. So he has the unique trajectory of having owned a bank, being a bank regulator, and also sitting on a board. So anything related to community and banking, he's got great expertise. Dave Nominack is our CPA and counsel. So Dave is a well-known accountant and also attorney. So he holds both distinctions. He's also an entrepreneur, and he's had a couple of exits himself. John Park, I think everyone on the call knows John. John is incredible in helping us with finance and management. And, you know, we also took the time to really work on the philanthropic side. So whatever we do on the business side, we have a commitment in all the businesses we own to give back to the community that we're in, or things that we care deeply about and problems that need to be solved. So Bob Kovacevic is an internationally known philanthropy consultant and has done hundreds of millions of dollars of fundraising. He's here in the Orlando area. We gave him the same pitch we're giving you guys, and he was moved enough to join us in that capacity to help us grow. So that's a bit about the team. We didn't just go and kind of jump off a bridge. As we went through this process, John connected us with Senator Tim Scott's office. We gave them the same pitch that we gave you. They connected us with the Executive Office on Domestic Policy for the White House and HUD. Ultimately, we ended up getting invited to a roundtable with Dr. Carson last year here in Orlando to talk about our plan for opportunity zones and that growth. And that kind of goes into something that Dave mentioned about going beyond real estate. What really stuck with all of these offices was that we understood the logic that real estate's one play, but the businesses and other things that you can do within an opportunity zone, if your model works, is really the thing that accelerates this and makes it make sense for everyone. In every conversation that I've had with an investor, once you walk them through that part of the process to say, hey, look, real estate provides you a level of stability, and that's great. We totally get that, right? Your portfolio requires these things. Here is how we mitigate your risk in investing in businesses and other things that have to do with the community so that you have a significant return. And they all get it, right? They're like, wow, why hasn't anyone thought of that? It's like, but that's why the lab model exists. So I'm going to give you guys a high level look at the business and the monetization model. So we've got multiple revenue streams here. And what we found in talking with people is that the economic development offices play a pretty major role in the things that you're able to do and the level of access that you can have. So as a hybrid economic accelerator and event space, we do events, we do programs, we do workshops. We have people who rent space from here. We have sponsors, like you guys can't see it because I'm in our studio, but in front of me, we've got like 20 plus picture windows that are 9x3 that face the main thoroughfare here in downtown Orlando. So we've got sponsorships and all of these things that feed money to the lab. And as we build our real estate portfolio, there's revenue there. But what's interesting about the economic development offices is if we go to them with a structure where we say, look, we're aligning the interests. What is your biggest need? And for some opportunity zones, it's, well, this area specializes in, I'll give you guys the example of Manatee County, which is Sarasota, Florida. When we talked with them, we said, what's the need? And what they told us is that, hey, we have a deep water port and we want to compete with the port of Tampa, which is prohibitively expensive to get into. So about an hour down the road in Sarasota, you have a deep water port. And they said, our biggest need is advanced manufacturing in order for us to compete. And we said, okay, so if we took our accelerator model and we focused on bringing in businesses that could help to solve that problem, what would that do for you? And the response was, what do you need and when can you start, right? So it was almost by accident. We had talked to someone that had mentioned this to us when they saw their model. They're like, you should talk with the Itos. And when we started doing that, what we discovered is that they provide you with the absolute best path for opportunity, because if you can plug in and solve their challenge, they'll open all the other doors in a given market for you. So you're going to understand where the best real estate deals and breaks are. You're going to understand the businesses or groups that you need to connect with. They're going to open doors for you, and they've got budget. Like their entire existence is based on economic development, job and tax-based growth, right? I think we fit, all of us on this call in some way, we fit into that model. And literally, it's like a cheat sheet. Before you go into a market, you'll already have the plan baked out. And that's what we started to do. Outside of Tampa, in Brandon, Florida, they're building a healthcare corridor. And we had the same thing. There's a great space there that's 20,000 square feet, 2 floors, sits right in the middle of the area where they're doing all the additions for healthcare and the majors to move in. And some have already started to move in. So if you build an accelerator that focuses on that, instead of those businesses having to fly all over the country to pitch for business, they can walk up and down the street and do their deals, right? So we said, okay, we think we're onto something. What else can we do to make this attractive? And what we came up with is that the businesses that come into the accelerator as a requirement for being in, because they get a number of perks for doing that. I won't go into all of them today, but they get a number of perks, is they have to crowdsource a solution for the opportunity zone. So in essence, what happens is that these businesses spin out a solution that turns into another business. So if you're an investor, what have we done? We've said, okay, real estate gives you stability. The businesses that come in, we've already mitigated the risk because they take our backbone as far as what they need to do to make sure that their business is structured properly, and we're able to keep a close eye on them, right? And now we're spinning out additional businesses. So throughout this chain, you get all those benefits. And by the way, the opportunity zone benefits for investors from the government line up pretty well. So for an investor, they say, well, wait a minute. So let's see, you've mitigated risk, you've given me opportunity, kind of makes sense. All right, let's talk some logistics. So I think for the sake of this call, yes, I'm showing you guys what the lab looks like and everything like that. But I think for everyone on this call, it certainly pays to think a bit differently and to be unconventional, because the feedback we've gotten on this model is that, why hasn't someone done this before? Why hasn't someone said, let's align the interests and provide some accountability up and down the chain so everyone benefits? And we're like, we don't know. But for all of you on the call, I hope that's a takeaway in your models to maybe do something or add something different. And I'm happy to, if we can help in some way, we'd love to do that because we all benefit. So there's a look at the business and monetization model. And our formula is actually easy. Like it's literally in the words. Right? Okay. So, for us, the plan entrance is strategic acquisition of real estate. Obviously, that makes sense in the model. We accelerate with purchases and enhancements of the things that you need to do. Stability and sustainability. So if we do this right with accelerator businesses that spin out and grow jobs and spin out other businesses, those crowdsourced solutions can be resold to customers, acquisitions happen, additional jobs are created, tax base increases, everybody's happy, right? And so on the yield side, if we do all of these things right, then the appreciation and value for the real estate, for the businesses and the things we build all make sense. And since our primary driver in aligning the interests is to provide accountability, there's transparency to see exactly what's going on and what we need to do. Guys, I think if we collectively do this right, what we learned in talking with the government was that they're like, hey, we think we did the right thing here, right? We think that by putting together the Opportunity Zone program, this is going to accomplish the goal. But beyond that, there isn't a lot we can do without accountability partners down the chain being able to show us something measurable and tangible so we know if it's working, or they can tell us, hey, this doesn't make any sense. You guys should do something different, right? And then they're like, tell us, please tell us if it's not right, because ultimately we report to you anyway. So please help us understand what works and what doesn't so that we can either fix it or do more of it, which Dave, I think when you went to this conference, one of the things we're seeing is that they're gonna open up opportunity zones. And that's one of the things we've been screaming about since we started this process, is that there is more room for opportunity zones throughout the US in strategic places where at some point in the future, we're going to be able to aggregate these opportunity zones in such a way that probably for the first time since right after World War II, supply chain logistics and opportunity zones are going to make a ton of sense, right? That's still a couple of years out, but the fact that they're willing to increase the number of opportunity zones plays really well there. So monetization formula. Some of our targets and engagement. So here at the Lab Orlando, we do 150 plus events every year. We've got Friday nights are dedicated to youth night, so it's going to be busy in here this evening. We do a Move the Needle Thursday, which is like a networking event that spun off of 1 Million Cups, where we crowdsource solutions in a networking environment for entrepreneurs throughout the evening. We've got our Lunch and Learn series, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we do evening workshops and courses. And then we've got some aggressive targets for ourselves over the next 24 to 36 months. We want 200 labs in qualified opportunity zones, 7,500 growing businesses, over 25,000 new jobs, and 100 million in aggregate value for our model. And we believe we can get there. Things after August 3rd will accelerate for us pretty quickly. We're actually doing a grand opening officially for the Lab Orlando, and we're bringing some heavy hitters in to hear part of the story that you guys are hearing today to move the model forward. So here's kind of a sampling of the things that we've put together for our workshops. You guys can see that we help businesses to scale, also to understand government designations, but we've actually dedicated an entire module set to community solutions. And so any resident of Paramore can attend any of those for free, because in order for this to work the way that we want it to and the community to participate in the process, people are going to come to us in different places. They don't have a job. They need a job, right? They have a job. They want upward mobility. Great. They want to go from upward mobility to entrepreneurship. We can help there. So we designed it specifically to help the communities that we're in, to give back, to make sure that the alignment process actually happens. So through Sherlock, our technology company, we're able to provide the competitive edge to businesses because we have a backbone for businesses that come into the accelerator that's solid. This isn't uncommon, but we think that by systematizing it in the way that we've done and making sure that they take it, we mitigate the risk, and we ensure that the businesses who are most primed for growth get the most help possible to actually accomplish that mission. Real quick, for us, we've kind of got the McDonald's model I think everybody's familiar with. There's a combination of O&O and limited licenses that we'll do. So the plan is to grow slowly, initially with O&O models to make sure that we're helping out in the markets, and then looking for strategic partners who already have a foothold in an opportunity zone where the lab model will work for them as a partner. Those licensing fees are still being worked on, but generally, not only do we think it makes sense, but we think we'll be able to help with finance in markets where we've got really good partners for licenses. And then we'll see if everything works the way that it does, those numbers on licensing fees will more than grow the model significantly. We'll probably blow 200 locations out of the water if we do that part right. So last slide for me, you're not supposed to leave with an ask, so I got a couple. Number one for us, to connect with similar minds in opportunity zones to partner or to license. I've had a conversation with a couple of folks that are OZ members about this already, and we're excited to have those conversations. Connecting with economic development groups in opportunity zones. As I mentioned earlier, I think we miss how important those groups are and the resources they have. They literally can kick in the door for you to get to people that in a normal course you may struggle to get to, or you may not come on their radar, and they wouldn't take a call or a meeting. If the EDOs believe in you and you're helping to solve their problem, they'll roll out the red carpet for you. Leads on real estate for us, a minimum of 10,000 square feet in opportunity zones is important in what we've learned in our smaller space. And then investors that make sense, right? So we've talked to a number of investors and we realized two things. One, this model doesn't work for everybody, but two, who it does work for, the wins are significant. So with that, guys, thank you. I hope I didn't go too far over. I think we're good, Chris, but thank you guys for allowing me to present, and I'll answer questions as many as I can, as best I can, as quick as I can.